Tonight, shocking new details revealed in court as Floreat parents stand trial, accused of starving their teenage daughter. A tobacco shop gutted in a fiery hit and run in Midland. Police swoop, taking a record haul of homemade 3D guns and drugs off our streets. The King makes an impassioned plea to world leaders in Samoa as Australia inks a new climate deal. And the winner takes it all. A Perth lotto player $30 million richer. We are live to the winner's room at Lottery West.
This is 9 News Perth with Michael Thomson.
Good evening. A child protection worker's repeated attempts to have a malnourished Floreat teenager medically assessed were ignored by her parents for 4 months, a court has been told. The teenager eventually examined by a GP with grave concerns over the girl's weight.
A vision of health, according to her father. But this teen's height and weight became the centre of a Department of Communities investigation. It started in November 2020, following concerns from the girl's dance teachers. Child protection workers first connected with her parents on December 3. A request the teen be medically assessed made. An appointment booked with a dietitian more than a month later. It was cancelled, then rescheduled, and cancelled again. Concern escalating, workers visited the family's Floreat home at the end of February 2021, today telling the court the father refused to let them see his daughter, and the home was observed to be extremely cluttered. Weeks later, the girl's grandmother contacted by the department, telling the worker she would encourage her son to get the child assessed. Nearly 5 months after that first phone call, the 16-year-old was taken to a GP. There, prosecutors say the wealthy couple lied about their child's age, claiming she was 14. Case notes revealing the doctor was gravely concerned the girl weighed just 27.3 kilograms, urging she be taken to Perth Children's Hospital, where she was admitted a week later. The court heard she was considered a medical emergency, told to stay in bed or in a wheelchair at all times to reduce her energy output. Staff also observed the 16-year-old sitting on her mother's lap, noting she wasn't able to share her own opinions. The couple denies starving their daughter. Her father has already confessed to lying about her age. Amber Wilkinson, 9 News.
There are fears tobacco wars have started in Perth after police say a ute was deliberately driven into a Midland tobacco store, sparking a fire. 5 small businesses are now destroyed. The man behind the wheel tonight on the run.
24 hours ago, this was a tobacco store. Today, unrecognisable charred remains after a ute slammed into it early this morning.
It sounded like gunshots going off at 3 o'clock this morning.
The vehicle captured pulling into a car park on Great Eastern Highway, turning around, then driving straight at the shop. The building exploding into flames, the driver seen fleeing. Fire and smoke spreading to neighbouring businesses. The damage bill estimated at $500,000.
Everything's black, the roof's down, the air conditioning's obviously caught fire, and you can see it's all melted into the shop.
5 shops in total, small businesses owned by local families, now closed indefinitely.
It's well and truly drenched. There's not much that's salvageable, so we'll probably have to start from scratch.
Neil and Leslie owned the Robot Bun Factory, the cafe celebrating its 8th birthday last week, able to save one tiny trinket.
This is our little mascot that we've built the cafe from, and his name is Ollie.
The local community devastated by the losses.
They're just hard-working people like you and me, and now this has happened to them. We just don't need these tobacco wars here. It's awful.
The owners of the building say this isn't the first time the shop's been targeted. Just 2 weeks ago, it was broken into and robbed.
Detectives now working to piece together who is behind the attack and why. Yvonne Ardley, 9 News.
WA Police have seized what it's calling the biggest haul of 3D printed guns in our state's history, including several found buried underground. Authorities arresting a man they say is a significant organised crime member, warning these firearms pose a continued threat.
Don't be fooled, these 3D printed guns aren't child's play.
They are a lethal weapon, they are not a toy.
Capable of firing a bullet.
It's not an area to play in.
These 21 made-at-home guns are WA Police's biggest haul of 3D firearms since new laws were created 3 years ago. Detectives from the Border Operations Squad starting an investigation last month after receiving information about firearms trafficking and sale and supply of drugs. Police raiding a Duncraig home last week, arresting a 36-year-old man. Inside, allegedly discovering 14 3D printed guns, more than 2 kilograms of meth, $72,000 cash, plus 3 3D printers and ammunition. 2 days later, their focus turning to bushland in Bullsbrook, seizing another 7 3D guns buried in the ground. 3D printers are easily accessible and can be bought at shops, transforming thin materials into larger objects. But if you're caught with these guns, you're facing up to 14 years in jail.
Privately manufactured firearms is an ongoing, continued threat.
Police say this investigation has no links to outlaw motorcycle gangs, but do believe the 36-year-old man arrested is a significant member of an organised crime network operating in Perth. He's facing 45 charges, and there may be more arrests to come.
This is just the beginning of an extensive investigation.
Michael Stamp, 9 News.
Australia is moving to enter a new energy agreement with the UK as Commonwealth leaders meet in Samoa to address global challenges. King Charles declaring climate change, global conflict and misinformation on social media as the 3 major threats facing life and peace across the world.
From the countries of the Commonwealth, colour and culture. And from the King, a call to action.
Lives, livelihoods and human rights are at risk.
Leaders from more than 50 countries warned climate change is an existential threat that could cause conflict.
If we do not, then inequalities across the Commonwealth and beyond will only be exacerbated with the potential to fuel division and conflict.
His Majesty on the island encouraging nations to restore and protect their natural environment.
Keep an eye on my cheese. There's not many more.
Early this morning, as wild winds lashed Samoa, inside, a warm welcome from its Prime Minister Fiame.
Thank you for making the time to come.
Climate action, the top issue, and Anthony Albanese entered a new energy partnership with the UK.
Very good to see you. Very good to see you.
Driving the development of green hydrogen and offshore wind.
We both are on the path to net zero, and there's a real opportunity for us to develop technologies together.
As the relevance of the monarchy is questioned across the Commonwealth, the King today is seeking to prove he is in touch with the troubles facing modern families, asking leaders to address concerns over social media and misinformation online.
Ensuring that the untold potential of technology, including artificial intelligence and social media, works for our societies, not against them.
King Charles is very conscious about the modern world and prepared to engage in debate.
The Queen has spent her days championing the plight of women in the Pacific alongside Foreign Minister Penny Wong.
There is no peace and stability and prosperity without women taking their full place in a society.
Now as talks conclude, Samoa has been a proud host. Villages decked out in flags of each Commonwealth country, including a little reminder of home for their Majesties. Tonight at dinner, as formalities wrap up, and you might be able to see behind me the major police coordination effort underway as leaders move about the island. What this is actually the first official deployment of a major policing pact that was orchestrated by Australia and signed by Pacific nations back in August. And that will see not only the coordination of these major events, but also training of officers in Brisbane. This is really a proud moment for Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. Tomorrow morning, a retreat, and that is when we'll find out what, if anything, has been decided when it comes to action on climate change.
And on the sidelines in Samoa, the Prime Minister gave his view on Senator Lydia Thorpe's parliamentary tirade at King Charles in Canberra.
Well, Lydia Thorpe's outburst was, of course, about Lydia Thorpe. I thought it was rude, outrageous and entirely inappropriate.
Meanwhile, a 27-year-old Melbourne woman has been charged over an alleged assault on Lydia Thorpe at the MCG Dreamtime game in May of this year. The senator says she suffered a spinal injury which kept her from attending multiple parliamentary sitting days. The charged woman, who is known to Ms Thorpe, was freed on bail today. A farming community is tonight in mourning after an elderly couple was tragically killed when a truck ploughed into their bedroom in Victoria's southwest. The driver drove through a paddock at speed for hundreds of metres before hitting the house.
The tipper truck was empty, but it was travelling fast enough to rip down brick walls and tear off part of the roof when it burst through this front bedroom, killing Jim and Carmel Madden.
At least one, I believe, was sleeping at the time. The other one doesn't appear to be.
The truck was heading east from Port Fairy to Warrnambool when at 7 o'clock this morning it swerved onto the wrong side of the Princes Highway. It crashed through a paddock fence, travelling at speed in an almost perfectly straight line for more than 200 metres, failing to stop or swerve before colliding with the house.
We're standing on a 100km/h zone, and at this stage my preliminary view of it is that speed is not going to be an issue.
Jim and Carmel died at the scene. The farmers sold cattle at the Warrnambool sale yards until it closed, served as local club presidents and even trained horses to victory at Warrnambool Racecourse.
A real shock this morning. They were great, community people involved in Lions Club and schools.
We're standing right where the truck veered onto the wrong side of the Princes Highway, through that fence and headed toward the house about 200 metres behind me. As you can see, it is a dead straight stretch of road. Police say there's no reason for the driver to have swerved, and they're now investigating whether he was distracted, fell asleep or may have suffered a medical episode.
So how that has actually happened and what was going on in the truck at the time is all under investigation at this stage, but clearly we have an open mind. Ultimately, it is unlucky.
The driver, who suffered minor injuries, is at a local hospital. He hasn't been interviewed yet, but police say the 70-year-old was fully licensed and they're waiting on the results of drug and alcohol tests. Mark Santomartino, 9 News.
Qantas has a new leadership team, but it was former CEO Alan Joyce who dominated discussion at the airline's annual general meeting. Joyce was today praised by the board for saving Qantas from shutdown during the COVID pandemic.
Striking Qantas engineers in Sydney and Melbourne talking tough in their demands for a pay rise.
It's been over 20 years! Over 20 years!
While the airline's CEO was on the charm offensive in Hobart.
Absolutely, we value our engineers.
It was a softly approach, not just with workers, but shareholders, as Qantas's new leadership team fronted its first annual general meeting.
There is no pretending that last year was anything other than a very difficult year for Qantas.
The turbulence, the illegal sacking of ground staff during COVID, ghost flights and huge salary perks for outgoing executives, including Alan Joyce.
As I look around here, I feel the ghost of Alan Joyce in the room.
Joyce had his $18 million golden handshake cut in half. The new chairman full of praise of the old team, which navigated COVID.
Without their leadership, Qantas might well not have survived, and we might not all be here today.
And there is reward for the people still working for the Flying Kangaroo. 27,000 employees will each receive a $1,000 thank you payment for their contributions this year. The airline is also set to release millions of extra frequent flyer seats on domestic routes, deliver new aircraft and refurbish economy cabins in the Airbus A330s with bigger entertainment touchscreens.
I acknowledge that we don't always get it right, but the feedback from customers and what we are hearing when we are travelling suggests that we have turned the corner.
Damien Ryan, 9 News.
One West Australian is $30 million richer, scooping the entire Division 1 prize in last night's Powerball. Let's go live to Bianca Carboni in the winner's room at Lottery West. Bianca, has the lucky lotto player cashed in yet?
Michael, they know they've won, but they haven't claimed their prize just yet. Lottery West called them just this morning to say their registered ticket was the winner in last night's $30 million Powerball. We know the ticket was bought from Malaga News Agency, but all other details about the winner have not been revealed. Even Lottery West itself is still eagerly waiting to meet the lucky ticket holder here in the winner's room.
We can't wait to speak to the owner of that ticket just to see what are they going to do with $30 million.
There have been 52 Division 1 Lotto winners this year, Michael, but this one is the biggest yet.
30 million. Bianca, quite incredible. Thank you. The federal government has announced $10 million in funding for a world-first screening program for the most lethal form of skin cancer, work now underway to find the best approach to target Australians at high risk of melanoma.
It's been a week of highs for the Melanoma Institute. A visit from the King on Tuesday to today's announcement at a major melanoma conference in Sydney.
The Institute will lead a really important piece of work to develop and research a targeted national skin cancer screening program.
This is an absolute milestone.
A milestone for skin cancer, given there are no mass programs for early detection. Currently, eligible Australians have access to free early screening for breast, bowel and cervical cancer. Lung cancer will be included next year, targeting those at high risk. Screening for melanoma will operate in a similar way. The focus will be on those more susceptible to disease.
Red hair colour, people with lots of moles on their body, people with a family history.
If you detect melanoma early, most patients will be cured from it.
Despite better treatments,
someone dies from melanoma in this country every 6 hours.
A terminal diagnosis can happen suddenly, like it did for Craig Lawn.
If you have stage 4, you've got 6 months to live.
That was 10 years ago. His thoughts on today's announcement.
For all our kids, this is forever, right? And that's why I'm genuinely excited.
Experts will report back to the government within 4 years with details on the best way to roll out a targeted screening program.
Remember your sun safety rules as we head into summer.
Gabriella Rogers, 9 News.
Despite hanging up his baggy green cap, the rollercoaster career of Australian cricketer David Warner has taken another turn. His lifetime ban on being a captain has now been lifted, thanks to the support of some of the sport's biggest names.
From Cricket Australia poster boy to the edge of exile and back, today David Warner's redemption story was complete.
I spoke to David this morning as well, and he's exceptionally happy. He's pleased that it's come to obviously to this conclusion.
Slapped with a lifetime leadership ban following Sandpaper Gate in 2018, last Thursday the 37-year-old managed to convince a panel to overturn that decision during a secret 3-hour hearing.
He's changed behaviours, understood the seriousness of the offence, shown remorse.
His appeal endorsed by some of the greats, Greg Chappell, Kane Williamson and Pat Cummins. But talk of a Warner comeback to the national team this week didn't have the Australian Test captain's support.
I did speak to Dave a couple of days ago.
Did you?
Yeah, I think I can't remember, he reached out or I did. It's like, what do you think? And I'm like, yeah, good luck with Thunder this year.
Not only does this decision allow Warner to captain the Sydney Thunder this summer, it also opens up opportunities after his playing career, including holding roles with Cricket Australia.
We were joking the other day that this probably leaves on the table that he could be the CEO of Australia.
But right now, with his reputation restored, it must feel as good as any century he's ever scored.
This was about him, his daughters in particular, the legacy he wants to leave for his family.
James Wilson, 9 News.
It was a picture-perfect end to the working week with blue skies across the day, but Kelly Haywood, it was a little cooler than expected.
It was, Tomo. We hit a top of 23.5 degrees just before 11 this morning, and the mercury stopped climbing there, but then it hovered around the early 20s for much of the afternoon, only starting to dip as we had some pretty strong southwesterlies move in this afternoon. We've also had a bit of cloud move in late this afternoon. Now, before they moved in, we saw some lovely spring temperatures across the suburbs. The warmest spots were the Swan Valley and the Perth Airport, both hitting above 26 degrees. Much warmer in the north north of the state today, though, with parts of the Kimberley and Pilbara right now under a severe to low intensity heat wave warning. Now, unfortunately for us, that heat will hit us here in the city. When? I'll tell you a little later in the bulletin, Tomo.
Things are going to warm up. Kelly, thank you. Perth primary schools forced to cut swimming lessons because of an instructor shortage. Next, the warning to parents from Royal Lifesaving as we head into summer. The legal bombshell that could mean the Menendez brothers are freed after 30 years behind bars for killing their parents. Plus, Kamala Harris calls on star power in the race for the White House, and the moment a primary school student discovers a snake hiding in her lunchbox. That's still to come. 2 kilograms of meth have been seized after a police operation which targeted Perth Airport. Police say they became suspicious of a 76-year-old who had arrived from Melbourne on Tuesday, following him to an address in Dayton. It's alleged the drugs were found there, as well as $50,000 in cash.
We're pleased that 2 kilograms of methamphetamine has been taken off the streets and is out of the hands of criminals within our community.
The traveller and a 55-year-old are facing charges. Perth primary schools are being forced to cut the number of swimming lessons students are doing because of a shortage of instructors. The shortage so bad, Royal Lifesaving is concerned some WA kids may leave primary school not being able to swim 50 metres.
We know we need about 3,000 swim instructors each year throughout the state, just because there's so many opportunities to participate in swimming and water safety lessons in Western Australia.
School holiday lessons are being made free this summer, with parents encouraged to enrol as early as possible to secure a place. It is the case that's captured global attention. The Menendez brothers sentenced to life in prison without parole for the brutal murder of their parents in Beverly Hills. Today, 35 years later, they've been recommended for resentencing, with the possibility of walking free this year.
With the eyes of the world watching, the family of Eric and Lyle Menendez gathered to find out their prayers had finally been answered.
I came to a place where I believe that under the law, resentencing is appropriate.
The brothers were under 26 years of age at the time of their crime, so under Californian law, they will be immediately eligible for parole. The case has seen renewed interest after it was chronicled in the Netflix series Monsters.
Eric and I killed our parents together.
Eric and Lyle have long alleged that their father abused them and claimed they feared for their lives when they murdered Kitty and Jose Menendez. In recent weeks, new evidence has come to light, with a former member of the boy band Menudo claiming Jose sexually assaulted him at the age of 14, and a letter from Eric to his cousin detailing the abuse before the murders took place.
I do believe that the brothers were subjected to a tremendous amount of dysfunction in the home and molestation.
Together we can make sure that Eric and Lyle receive the justice they deserve and finally come home.
Their freedom is not guaranteed, but seems likely. Eric and Lyle's journey is one of redemption and rehabilitation. They both have exemplary behavioural records, completed college degrees while incarcerated, and acted as caregivers to elderly inmates.
This has been a legal drama which rivals any Hollywood production. Ultimately, it will be up to a judge to decide their fate, but today's decision could pave the way for the men to walk free.
The District Attorney's Office told 9 News they will begin filing their paperwork with the courts tomorrow. In Los Angeles, Alison Petrowski, 9 News.
An Israeli airstrike on a school-turned-shelter in Gaza has killed 17 people, including 7 children. The Israeli military claiming Hamas was using it as a terrorist command centre. The US is pushing for a ceasefire, saying that Israel has effectively dismantled Hamas after it killed leader Yahya Sinwar. Meanwhile, $1.5 billion in humanitarian aid and military support was pledged to Lebanon at an international conference in Paris. Almost 7 months on from the transportation disaster, the operators of the ship that destroyed Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge have agreed to pay nearly $153 million to the US Justice Department to settle a civil lawsuit. 6 workers died in the disaster. Bruce Springsteen has thrown his support behind Kamala Harris, turning a campaign stop into a concert. He's the latest celebrity to back the US Vice President, who's rolling out big names in a bid to drive her campaign home.
As America's first black president, he was a trailblazer. As the country's first female VP, she's already broken a glass ceiling and she wants to shatter the big one.
And make no mistake, we will win.
Tonight, Barack Obama and Kamala Harris campaigning together for the first time.
We do not need 4 years of a wannabe king, a wannabe dictator. Georgia, we're ready for a president, Kamala Harris.
The Democrats going all in to roll out the big names, and it doesn't come much bigger than the boss.
She's running to be the 47th president of the United States. Donald Trump is running to be an American tyrant.
Turning this into a campaign concert for more than 20,000 people.
Even if we're just dancing in the garden.
The Harris campaign on a star-studded swing state showdown. Tonight there's Bruce Springsteen. Tomorrow there'll be Beyonce. On this home stretch to November 5th, these campaign events becoming an increasing spectacle.
On the other side of the country and on the other side of politics, Donald Trump was in the Sunbelt campaigning and complaining about his opponent.
She's a low IQ individual, I'm telling you. I'm good at this stuff. November 5th, 2024 will be called Liberation Day in America.
But tonight in the Peach State, it was the boss, the old boss, and the one gunning to be the new boss, all together on the trail. In Clarkston, Georgia, Lauren Tomazi, 9 News.
A 7-year-old received more than she bargained for. Instead of finding snacks in her lunchbox, she discovered a highly venomous snake.
One of my friends at school were bringing fake snakes to school and I thought it was one of those, but then I saw it move.
She squealed and sort of got the teacher's attention and scurried away.
The snake had somehow made its way into the bag from bushland surrounding the New South Wales school. A snake catcher called in to safely remove the reptile. In the news ahead, the mega fitness fundraiser helping save lives. The Perth gym making every rep count in a new partnership with Lifeline. A warning to parents over Halloween hazards to look out for ahead of this year's spooky celebrations. New cricket stand honouring the late Shane Warne, and later, Christmas hams put to the test. This year's offerings from Woolworths and Coles. How you can get the best value for money.
9 News, brought to you by Hyundai. Have you tried it? Now you can.
West Australians are reaching out for help at a rate never seen before. Crisis help service Lifeline recording a staggering 30% spike in phone calls tonight. How one community is trying to help, one squat, lift and rep at a time.
Digging deep and stepping up for mental health. Revo Fitness donating 50 cents for every rep completed in the Lifeline zone at Claremont, Scarborough, Joondalup, Cannington and Canning Vale. A familiar face among members making a difference through movement.
As we get busier and busier and the way that life goes at the moment, at times we've lost connection with people.
The fundraiser Lift for Lifeline follows a surge in demand for services. There's a call for help every 28 seconds. And in the past financial year, Lifeline WA supported more than 130,000 crisis conversations, a more than 30% increase on the previous year.
There are a lot of factors that contribute to that. One factor is undoubtedly the challenges around cost of living.
Revo Fitness's support doesn't stop here today in this squat rack, with the franchise committing a further $50,000 to the cause, funds that will support a dozen Lifeline WA support workers.
Anytime that you can raise awareness and start that conversation, super important.
Brittany Hoskins, 9 News.
Parents are being warned ahead of Halloween to keep an eye out for potential dangers from dodgy costumes to decorations and trick-or-treating troubles. You can have a frightening time without it turning into a nightmare.
The spooky season is upon us.
And for this mum of two, safety is top of mind.
It doesn't take much for my kids to get lost and take off and run between houses and on the roads.
From costumes to decorations, you never know what scary products are lurking in the shadows.
If you're not sure, if in doubt, do not buy it. It's not worth the risk.
In the lead up to Halloween, Consumer Affairs Victoria conducted a safety blitz. 670 unsafe items were pulled from the shelves, including light-up headbands, pumpkin lights, fake blood and nails. Button battery is the main concern.
Check for the quality of the products, particularly if it contains batteries. Make sure that battery compartment is secure. Have a look for the ingredients labels on products.
Novelty contact lenses also on the watch list. Optometrists say if they're not worn correctly, it can lead to complications.
So some of the conditions that optometrists will see, especially around the Halloween period, are an increase of bacterial conjunctivitis or ulcers on the cornea, which is the front part of the eye.
Halloween is all about having some frightening fun, especially when it comes to trick-or-treating. But it's important to remember safety around roads and driveways, so the only thing giving you a scare is the decorations.
Set some ground rules with the kids beforehand, making sure you're sticking in groups, holding hands where appropriate, being mindful of driveways, cars coming in and out, sticking to those pedestrian crossings and making sure your children are clearly visible at all times.
Isabel Quinlan, 9 News.
A new tribute for cricket legend Shane Warne with a stand named in his honour at Junction Oval in Melbourne, the first pit stop in his remarkable career. Shane's two daughters, Brooke and Summer, and his father Keith were at the unveiling. Cricket Victoria has also created a temporary Shane Warne exhibition at the Oval. Taking the plunge for a good cause, still to come this Friday, thrill seekers abseil down the Central Park Tower in our CBD for charity, including our very own Michael Stamp. I can't wait for that. And putting supermarket Christmas hams to the test, how you can find the best value for money. But first, Bonnie Raynor is here with Sport Bonnie. History at the Wacker, but for all the wrong reasons.
Tomo, an absolutely disastrous day for WA rolled for a record low total. 6 ducks sees WA's white ball title defence on life support. How the Scorchers plan to take down their first WBBL scalp, we're live to the Wacker. And more change at Coburn. The Dockers delist a pressure forward. WA's golden era of white ball dominance could be over. The side dismissed for its worst ever score after losing 8 for 1 against Tasmania. All-rounder Bo Webster tearing through WA's batting stocks, claiming 6 for 17 in the 7-wicket win, leaving hopes of a four-peat hanging by a thread.
An almighty collapse nobody saw coming.
It's an unmitigated disaster for WA.
All out for 53. WA's one-day cup season now on life support.
So a dark day for the black and gold. I think we've made life very difficult for ourselves now, losing those couple of close ones over in Sydney, and then I imagine the net run rate takes a pretty bad hammering.
WA already in trouble at 2 for 52, but that only the start. Josh Inglis in at 4, his day ending after 1 run. That score the hosts' last of the day off the bat, with 6 consecutive ducks to follow. WA losing 8 for 1.
Yeah, probably a bit of shock, as much as anything.
Bo Webster wreaking havoc with 6 for 17, his best ever domestic one-day figures.
It was very, very good, and we unfortunately just didn't have answers for it today.
Tasmania chasing down their measly target in only 9 overs. WA taking home 3 scalps as a consolation prize.
If Western Australia can take any slight joy out of today, replay that tonight.
Nathan McSweeney continuing his sizzling start to the domestic season, belting 137 of his side's 218-run total.
It's going to go for 4, and that brings up Nathan McSweeney's 100.
And while he's among a handful of names competing for the vacant test opening spot, David Warner won't be one of them.
I did speak to Dave a couple of days ago. Like, what do you think? And I'm like, yeah, good luck with Thunder this year.
The 37-year-old now available to skipper the Sydney Thunder this season. Cricket Australia overturning the lifetime leadership ban he was slapped with after the sandpaper saga. Erin Haywood, 9 News.
The Perth Scorchers will kickstart their WBBL season at home on Sunday night against a star-studded Melbourne Stars outfit. Let's head to the Wacker ground where Chloe Paparo joins us to preview the key matchups. Chloe, you're preparing to come up against a familiar face in former Scorcher Marizanne Cup. How do you nullify her impact with both bat and ball?
Yeah, Cappy's obviously fresh off a unfortunate World Cup final loss as well, but obviously in the first kind of 4 overs she's always looking to swing the ball, and I think having a left-hander in Beth Mooney opening the batting for us along with a right-hander as well will help mitigate that, I think. And then she obviously normally bowls the surge overs as well, so that's going to be something tough for us to kind of navigate. But I think we've had Amy Jones over here from last year as well, who played the surge really well as a batter, so hopefully we get on top of her tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, not only Cap, there'll be plenty of international talent on show. Let's look at new Stars captain Annabelle Sutherland and Perth's prolific run scorer in Beth Mooney. Who wins that battle?
Hopefully Moons. I think they've obviously probably played a lot against each other over the last few years, and obviously been away in the Aussie colours as well. But yeah, hopefully Annabelle is a bit flustered with the new captaincy. I think obviously a huge honour for her as well, but she's a real threat in all 3 facets of the game. So I think Moon's ability to kind of move around the crease and access different parts of the ground will hopefully be in our favour. And then yeah, when Annabelle bats, she obviously has a great swing on her, always looking to kind of relocate to access leg side. So I think, you know, if we can bowl nice and full and keep the stumps in play, that's going to be key.
And we can't go past another former Scorcher, Meg Lanning. How do you see the back of the former Aussie captain?
Yeah, Meg's obviously a huge wicket. I think if we can kind of attack her with her first kind of 5 to 10 balls and look to get her out cheaply, I think that's going to be huge for us. She can really access that behind the point region better than most can. So I think, you know, we might be looking to nick her off early or try and get her LBW as well, I think is another key mode to get her out.
Well, a crucial clash as you eye a fast start to the season. Chloe, good luck and thank you so much for your time and your insight.
Thanks, Bonnie. Appreciate it.
Well, the Dockers have delisted forward Tom Emmett after 15 AFL games across 2 seasons. The 22-year-old falling victim to Fremantle's off-season moves, where the club brought in Shea Bolton from the Tigers, with Quinton Narkle also expected to join in coming months. Emmett was taken with pick 41 in the 2022 National Draft. The Australian Diamonds insist being 2-0 down in the Constellation Cup won't impact their performance in Sunday's must-win clash against New Zealand. Rudy Ellis declaring they're embracing the Perth pressure test.
I don't think our confidence has been affected too much. We're a pretty positive bunch, and I think Stacey and Richo and the way they've handled these past 2 games has been excellent. So yeah, I think that we're just really excited to step out there again and have this challenge ahead of us.
The 3rd match of the Silver Fern series starts at 4 o'clock at RAC Arena. And Andre Heimgartner had all 4 wheels off the ground as he flew around the streets of the Gold Coast in supercars practice. But the Chevrolet driver wasn't as fast as the Fords, Tickford topping both sessions. Thomas Randall putting down the quickest lap of the day, just ahead of teammate Cam Waters. Tomo, what a day at the Wacker. We've seen a lot of cricket there, but I can't remember seeing anything like that. No. 8 for 1.
No, 6 ducks in a row.
You might get a call up soon.
Oh, it's extraordinary. Bonnie, thank you. It is the centrepiece of every good festive feast, but which Christmas ham is the best? We put the supermarkets to the test after the break. Plus Perth Zoo partnering with conservationists for World Lemur Day. And Kelly Haywood, we've got a hot week ahead.
We certainly do, Tomo. We have a string of days above 30 degrees, followed by some very warm nights. Very little relief, but I'll have just what to expect up soon.
The share market is in a holding pattern ahead of key inflation data set to come out next week. Here's finance editor Chris Kohler.
It was a steady day to finish the trading week, but there were some big winners and losers. WiseTech lost 20% in 5 days as CEO and founder Richard White was accused of bullying and intimidation, along with some other scandals. He resigned yesterday, and today the share price took off, soaring nearly 13%. And Qantas shares rose 1.5% as the AGM took place in Hobart. On the other end of the scale, Australia's biggest gold miner, Newmont, crumbled 13%. It announced a big profit, but investors are worried about costs. And the Aussie dollar finishes the week lower than where it started. It's buying 66.2 US cents, 61.2 euro cents and 51 British pence. All eyes next week will be on the crucial inflation figures released on Wednesday.
Thank you, Chris. Let's take a look at the price of unleaded petrol across Perth tomorrow. The average will be $1.69.9 a litre, but you can find it cheaper on Wanneroo Road in Wanneroo, on Bannister Road in Canning Vale and on Milner Road in Forestfield. We are still 2 months away from Christmas, but the festive season is already settling in for our major supermarkets. Woolworths and Coles today releasing their Christmas ham range, promising feasts without breaking the budget.
It's the tantaliser of taste buds so many love. Whether smoked, salted or even with a hint of sweetness, it's just not Christmas without ham.
Always a showstopper. I think it's the exciting thing about Christmas for you. When the hams start coming out, it starts to feel like Christmas.
The festive favourite now in stock at major supermarkets, 2 months out from Christmas celebrations.
This is certainly an early entry to the Christmas campaign rush. For most consumers, we look at it and think it's getting too early.
We think we'll sell about 3 million kilos of ham this Christmas.
Food is spoiled for choice. Coles and Woolworths battling for best value, both pricing half-leg hams at $8 per kilo, the same as last year. The options not ending there. Woolworths offering their double-smoked half-leg for $12 per kilo, $17 for triple-smoked. Coles slightly less at $15.50 per kilo. And for the time poor, Woolies now offering glaze and bake options priced at $27.50.
And you can glaze with so many different things. I've glazed one today with maple and mustard and some marmalade and some rosemary. My new favourite's a fish sauce caramel with lots of chilli.
Aldi will be late to the party, offering its ham range from next month. And the wait could be worth it. The discount supermarket vowing it will not be beaten on price.
We now move into what will be 30 to 40% of overall trade for Australian retailers into this November, December, January period.
The silly season well and truly upon us. Hayley Francis, 9 News.
Our very own crime reporter Michael Stamp has been roped into a new challenge, taking him to new heights, all in the name of charity. The media and police team taking the plunge, abseiling 130 metres down the Central Park Tower in the city. Have a look at that. It's a long way up. Raising thousands of dollars for those with intellectual disabilities and Special Olympics.
Right hand off, now the left hand. And the other hand. And the other hand. Here it comes.
No hands.
It was a good experience and for a fantastic cause. The Law Enforcement Torch Relay is a very, very worthwhile charity for police to be involved in.
After a nervous start, the thrill seekers safely making it to the ground level. It is the 8th year for this special event. Well done to everyone involved, including our own Michael Stamp. It's World Lemur Day today in the Perth Zoo's larrikins have spent the day meditating in the sun and showing off their aerial antics. But behind the charm lies a serious challenge, with only 10% of their wild rainforest habitat left in Madagascar. Perth Zoo's efforts to support lemurs go beyond their South Perth gates, partnering with the Madagascar Fauna and Flora Group. Cloud clearing for a sunny weekend. Kelly has all your weather details right after this break.
Welcome back. It was a picture-perfect end to the working week, although we had some gusty southwesterlies stopping us from reaching our expected maximum, which we hit just before 11 this morning. That was 23 degrees, warming from our overnight low of 11, and this evening it has dropped to 17.8 here in the city. Taking a look at our weekend on the satellite, and in addition to a heatwave warning in the north of the state, we could also see some showers and thunderstorms. Showers too for the areas in the south coast, otherwise clear skies across the board. It'll be a similar Saturday across the country too. 27 and partly cloudy in Adelaide, 21 the top for Melbourne, although for those in Canberra a chilly 1 degree start to the day, and Sydney can expect a top of 20. Crossing back into WA, and those heat wave conditions are persisting. 42 the top for Kununurra tomorrow, 43 for Marble Bar, and in Newman 39 degrees. Moving further down the coast, it'll be a windy Saturday Saturday ahead for both Geraldton and Jurien Bay, a top of 19 for Augusta and Albany. Now, if you are heading out on our waters tomorrow, winds are expected to reach up to 25 knots, seas up to 2 metres, and swell will peak at 1.5 metres. It'll be a slightly cooler day across the suburbs, 22 the top from Joondalup through to Fremantle, while windy conditions will be expected in Swanbourne. Now, in the city, we are looking at an overnight low of 12 degrees tonight into a top of 24. Sunday is a little warmer, hitting a top of 28 degrees. Then we have a string of days above 30, peaking at 35 degrees, which will hit on Tuesday and then again on Thursday. Cooling down for Friday, though, we've got a bit of cloud cover moving in with a top of 28 degrees. We also have some warm nights across next week, sitting in the high teens. So those temperatures have been downgraded from what we were expecting yesterday, but it still is going to be a very warm week ahead. Tomo?
35 is hot. Kelly, thank you. That is 9 News for this Friday, October 25. Thanks for your company. Current Affair is next with Deb Knight. Enjoy your evening and your weekend right here on 9.